We're so fortunate this afternoon to have a fine delegate from what district?
It's a very good county anyway.
Good county. Hartford County, yeah. We're all the way from Hartford County, Delegate Solomon. We have
A little bit punchy here.
Hey,
we have his bill 1125.
thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Delegate Jared Solomon, District 18, Montgomery County. Good to see you all. Thank you for throwing this on the list at such a late hour. This actually has gone from a somewhat complicated bill to a much more simple bill, and I will run through it very quickly. And also want to thank our former vice chair before he came over to this side, Senator Jackson and Senator Watson, who have worked with us on this. So what the bill does in its current form right now is basically just codifies that the local, the office or the locally operating transit system grants actually exist. So the original bill is drafted, dealt with inflation adjusters, making sure that we locked funding levels in. We struck that. I think that's a much longer conversation. And this really just codifies that this program even exists. And these are funds that go to probably every single county that is represented on this committee, on the Appropriations Committee. This is state support that helps fund locally operated transit systems. So Montgomery County, that would be Ride-On. In Prince George's, it would be the bus. But Baltimore County, it's the connectors that they have, or Hartford County, I think it's called the Loop. So this is normally sort of cobbled together through a number of federal programs that provide formula dollars to the state, a number of state programs. And what's happened is these programs have basically operated, this program has operated off the books for years. And it came to a head during COVID, where MDOT basically said, we're not going to give you the money that we've been normally giving you because you got COVID relief dollars. And so obviously that was a huge problem for counties. So again, the bill is drafted, got more into what the funding level was, locking in certain funding levels. Again, that's a much broader conversation, and we're really excited that MDOT is willing to engage with us during the interim on sort of reopening this program, looking at what the formula actually does. But we felt like this was a really good step of just making sure the program is in code somewhere, because right now it's not, and making it clear that this is important to almost every member of the General Assembly that this gets through. And again, this helps urban, rural, suburban jurisdictions every corner of the state. So it asks for a favorable review.
Questions? Senator Jackson.
I can make a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the good delegate from the Appropriations Committee, which many of us were born there. The only reason that my name is not on the other side of that bill is because something happened to me when I got out of JPR. I don't think I said no to anybody about a bill, so I ran over a number of times. So a few of you guys have and young ladies have been asked to carry bills for me, but it's a great bill. It means a lot for the transit system across the state, and I'd move favorable.
Who's 939?
Watson.
Oh, right.
Second.
Pick it up for me, and it was real bagging on.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all. Go O's. Nice.
Right. Not so cool anymore. You still smiling. All right. All right.
Really good bill.
Yeah. 191.
House Bill 191 is the income tax payments of fines penalties bill. There were amendments to this bill. And the House bill requires a resident to add back any trade or business expense paid that was restitution or a penalty that was paid for violation of a law or to come into compliance with a law. The sponsor submitted the amendment to the bill, and the amendments are technical and clarifying. They specify that the types of expenses included in the section in any payment directed by a Maryland court state agency or the attorney general, any amount paid by those or directed to be paid by those entities should be excluded.
Question.
I
think-
thought you might.
I think it's a good bill. It just says you don't get a tax deduction when you're paying a penalty because you violated the law. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's fair.
The
Second.
amendments just say, it uses the word restitution instead of fines and penalties.
There's some technical.
Just the amendments?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Rose passed.
I know. No good deed goes unpunished.
235.
235. House Bill 235, this is a tax sale bill. It increases the foreclosure timelines after a property is sold at tax sale from 6 months to 9 months. This would make for all owner occupied residential property the same timelines that currently are in place for Baltimore City owner occupied residential property.
Senator Zucker, do you have a comment?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I move favorable.
Favor? Opposed?
House Bill 236, this is another bill related to tax sales. It establishes the intent of the General Assembly that at least 2% of the homeowner protection fund be spent each year to conduct outreach to homeowners and tax sale to enroll in the protection program. And also establishes the authority of the state ombudsman to conduct the outreach and gather related information, and requires a summary of those activities to be included in their annual report. The homeowner protection fund. I believe it was established a couple of years ago. It's intended to help properties that are at risk of going into tax sale, to help them get out of that process and redeem the properties.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do like this bill. I move favorable.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. 245.
House Bill 245, this is a procurement bill. This would require the Governor's Office of Small Minority and Women Business Affairs to include in its annual report an attestation that all units required to report MBE participation are included in the report. And then also requires GOSBA to conduct an audit every 3 years to determine which entities are subject to the state's MBE requirements. And then instead of each unit reporting that information to the Joint Committee on Fair Practices, the bill has GOSBA be the entity reporting all that, since it'll be doing those audits and certifying the units that are required to be in the MBE program. So to kind of consolidate the reporting.
All in favor? Opposed? That's good. Like that, Bill? All right. We're 95.
House Bill 495, it's identical to Senate Bill 350, which you guys already concurred with today.
Who looks there?
Okay.
Did I pay attention?
Up to you, Mr. Chairman.
Move favorable. All those in favor? Senator King. One another one. Okay. This is the one that we gotta play with, right? Do those.
Well, I need to explain it, but in theory, it's a favorable.
This is the favorable one, then we have to go back to the other one.
Correct. I have to go back to the Senate bill, which I have that number.
Okay. All right, 897, I've had a turn of thought on this. We were gonna go to conference on the Senate bill. Because they were adding a bunch of other criteria. It turns out, had we not added anything, the department was gonna add the same criteria that the House added. So I think we can probably just go with what the House did. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. Do you want me to
That-
say what the extra stuff was?
Ken, sure.
Okay, I mean, the extra
but-
stuff was, there was some logic behind it, and that the extra stuff was the 6 month living there is basically that showing that it's your primary residence. And then the thing in terms of the people who live there, just because of eligibility for the whole program is based on household income. They wanted to just check and make sure that the household is the same as when you did the annual, the big application.
So we were trying to make it simple, but it's still relevant. I mean, and actually what really did it for me was Erica pulled what the application, the first application looks like, like 3 or 4 pages. So it's still pretty simple. All in favor? Okay, Senator Edelman, you have that one.
Do you want to do the redo
And
the?
then we're gonna redo our decision on,
Yeah, Senate Bill 826, you had initially said to not concur.
so we will just concur.
Yep.
All's in favor? Okay. Okay, 963.
963, this is another tax sale bill. This would prohibit SDAT from dispersing specified funding to counties that have not provided tax sale information required in the survey that's supposed to go to SDAT. The bill also alters the survey reporting period to be the second preceding preceding taxable year rather than the preceding taxable year. And the bill applies prospectively to that.
He had on this, right?
No, there was no opposition. I believe the amounts that would be withheld are relatively small according to the fiscal note.
Yeah, we held it this morning because I was a little nervous about what we were going to be taking from people. But the reality is they should be providing the data anyway, and it seems like it's small enough and Mako hasn't weighed in, so I think it's reasonable to move forward. All those in favor? Opposed? Senator Jennings, did you say you wanted that bill? Senator Jackson, why don't you take that? $12.74.
1274, this is follow-up legislation that you've seen a couple times before. This would extend the pension system reemployed retiree earnings limitation for certain employees being reemployed by Department of Health working on COVID relief related projects. Yes, so when after you retire and you come back in a reemployment and are employed, depending on your pension benefits and what you're being paid, you can be subject to an offset of your pension benefit. There are exemptions to that in code. This was an exemption that first came in, I think in the 2021 session because MDH and I think at the time Commerce had brought back or labor maybe had brought back people to work on certain COVID projects. Generally, if you are retired more than 5 years, you're not subject to an offset. So this bill should probably be the last instance of needing to address this.
All those in favor? George's.
Yep, House Bill 444 would have a delegation letter for it. It authorizes the county to enter into a pilot agreement with owners of certain low-income housing developments. So that's it.
To do what?
That's a pilot for owners with specified low-income housing developments that are financed through the county's right of first refusal program.
Got it.
Or acquired, constructed, or rehab for the purpose of operating rental housing for lower income persons.
Bet you like this one too, Senator Benson. Yes?
I love it.
All right, Senator Jennings, you'll do that. All right. That is it for now. Because we're supposed to